So we have finished drawing our chameleon and outlining it, and we have our designs on our chameleon, and it looks as realistic as we can get it. Now we're going to talk about colors, okay? So that's what this project is about. It's about colors. Colors we see all the time, primary, secondaries, and tertiary or intermediate colors. So you're going to be creating some value charts. You're going to be using oil pastels because that's what we're going to be using on the chameleon itself. So each table has its own container of oil pastels. They're in the blue container under the sign that says oil pastels. You're going to need a white, and you're absolutely going to need a black because we're going to be doing a value chart. Your name, so your name, class code goes right here. Then it is telling you what you're doing. So hue means it is the true color. So it's just the actual name of the color. So it's whatever color it is. So if it's red, it's red. Value is how light or dark a color is. So that's what we're doing. We're making it lighter and darker. Tint, a color plus white. So pink is a tint of red. Shade is color plus black. Means like dark blue is the shade of blue. So here you're going to just pick one color, whichever color you want to do. I'm going to pick green because that's the one I saw first. And in this center one, underneath the one that says true hue, you are going to color this in. You want to fill it in all the way because you want it to be solid. And yeah, we're going to see a little bit of white from the paper because it is oil pastel, but you want to fill it in the best that you can. So I've got the center of the true hue. Now I'm going to work on the tints. So the tint is the color plus white. So to start, I'm going to take my oil pastel and I'm going to put some white down because I need a lot of white and a little bit of the color. So then I'm going to add some green on to that lightly. I'm not pressing down hard. Oil pastels are great because they mix together, and you can see how I go over that. It mixes. If it is really, really light, then I can always add a little bit more green on top of that. So now it's a little bit lighter. So I'm going to get a little closer to the white. I'm going to add white on top. I'm going to add a little less green, so I'm pushing not as hard. And then I mix the white on top of that. And you can see there's a difference between these two tints. One is much lighter than the other. So now I'm going to work on the shade. So with the shade, I have to start with the actual color. And I am not going to put a lot of the color. So I'm just adding a little bit of the color. Now I'm going to take the black and very lightly and carefully add the black. I'm going to take my green and I'm going to mix it together. So now it's mixed. This next one, I start with green. And I'm going to add a little more black this time. If I don't see a big difference between these two, then that tells me that I have to add more black. So it's a little darker, but not a lot darker. So I need to add a little bit more black, not pressing down hard, just a little bit more black. And then I'm going to cover that up. So now I've got the shades. So I have created my value chart. The reason that we're doing this before we work on this is you have to learn how to make values, how to mix the white and the black with the actual true hue so that we have all of those values on our picture. On my finished example, I have those values. I have the tints at the top where the light is shining down, and I have the shades where the shadow is, and you're going to have to work on those effects on yours. So the darker is always at the bottom and the lighter is always at the top, because we want it to look like the light is shining down onto our chameleon. So work on your value chart. Now that you're done with your value chart and you are comfortable with mixing tints and shades using oil pastel, what you have to decide is what kind of chameleon are you going to be doing? Are you going to do a warm color chameleon, or are you going to do a cool color chameleon? So you have to look for warm and cool colors. What are warm and cool colors? Well, look at the tables. Everything in our art room is pretty much divided into warm and cool. So for the warm colors, it's yellow, orange, and red. So anything on this side is a warm color. Now there's some that can kind of go in between. So yellow, green, it could be a warm color, but it can also kind of be a cool color. And then the red, purple, same kind of thing. It can kind of blend either way. So we want to think of it as kind of divided right here. Then we have our cool colors, green, blue, and purple. So those are the colors that we would think of when we think of kind of cooler, calmer things. Warmer colors, think more summertime, bright, bold colors. Your chameleon is going to be bright and bold no matter which way you choose to go, but when you pick your colors, you want to pick ones that you like. I like the cool colors a little bit more. I don't know why I do, I just do. Maybe it's because purple is in there and I love purple. So my chameleon itself is cool colored. We are not talking about the designs. Those are going to be a different group of colors. So we're only talking about the chameleon himself. Okay, so the cool colors is what I chose. I think I'll do warm colors, try something a little bit different. So I know that my group is right here. Yellow, orange, and red, and anything I can make in between that using the yellow, orange, red, orange, and again, if I wanted to, I could use some of that red, violet, or even that yellow, green too. So we have all of this stuff, this area here that we need to color in. So we got to keep in mind that the light is shining down on our chameleon. We learned how to use those tints and shades, so we want to definitely use those in our picture. So I am going to start with yellow. So yellow is a brighter color, so it's going to start at the top, and notice I am not pressing down super hard, and we're going to make sure we leave the designs alone for right now. So you can really make your chameleon look any way that you want color-wise, as long as you stay to the correct group of colors that you chose. So I'm going to have that yellow here, and then I'm going to have some orange blending in to that. Notice I'm just lightly kind of adding the color right now, kind of thinking through what I want to do. Could be a good idea to test colors on the back of your paper before you do anything else. So I'm going to now start to work on blending my colors together. With a oil pastel, you can do different things. Like I am doing little swirls on mine. I like to do that because the colors sometimes seem like they blend together a little bit better. All right, so you can do little swirls if you want, or you can stay with your lines like this. So I'm going to have my yellow start to blend in with that orange. And so we're just mixing those colors, but I know that I am working with a limited palette, So my palette means my color choices. And I'm only using the yellow, reds, and oranges. So I'm going to continue to work on mine. And I might add some red, or I might choose not to add any red at all to the body part of my chameleon. So we'll just see what happens. So you can see that I've got my base color down. So it's not completely filled in, it's not done. I'm ready to start thinking about those tints and shades as I work. So I know that the bottom of my chameleon needs to be in shadow. So it needs to be shaded. You got to be really careful though. If you grab the black and very simply press down really hard, what's going to happen? It's going to turn black. It's not going to look good when you do that. So you want to add a little bit at a time, and then we go in and blend it. So I know that I want this orange to kind of blend in. So that's where those little swirls can start working well and blending in. This is really teaching you how to be good at controlling your hand, because you have to be able to control how much pressure you put and if you're actually filling the whole thing in. So you can see I did little swirls, then I kind of go back and start to mix that color together. So I'm not panicking over here. I pressed down a little too hard, but that's okay. Again, when I mix those colors, it will be all right. So I want it to look a little more red. So yeah, I did go back and I added some red to it. So I want it to look like there's some red in here. So I'm going to add some red and mix it with the orange. So I make what color? Red orange. So now I'm going to come back and mix that red with that red orange and continue to work until it becomes solid. So you can see how those little swirls can work, or you can color it in just as you normally would. So you have to work nice and slowly. You got to take your time. Same kind of thing as you're adding the white to it. You don't want to add a ton of white. It's just helping to blend it to make it lighter. So you would come in, and I don't want it to look like it's got some stripe in between. That would look weird. So wherever I add it, then I could go through and go back in and add some of that orange back over if I choose. And so if something happens like that to yours, it's not a panic situation. You just got to pay attention to what you're doing. That's why talking the whole time you are working is not a good idea, because if you're talking to somebody, you're not looking at what you're doing. Because I am not looking at you guys. My eyes are on my paper. So that's what I am doing. I might add a little bit of that red up here too to kind of add a shadowy effect. You can blend with your finger if you want. That's not always the best plan because your fingers get dirty and then you kind of put stuff on there. But just keep going until you get the whole thing filled in.